Check, check. What is going on, everybody? I'd like to welcome you to this very, hopefully quick and super simple and easy to understand tutorial suitable for everyone on how to create some science fiction yum-yums using custom shapes palette I've created here, some photo bashing and some light paint over, and streamline this process for you as much as possible. I'm going to explain everything as I go, step by step, any key commands. Uh, Towards the end, there might be a couple little things that I don't explain, small moves, but for the most part, I'm going to break it all down. Now, what you have here, this is the original piece that I created using these custom shapes. Um, you can see them right here. Look at these little buddies. You can actually download them for free right now. Just go down in the description, click the link on my Patreon, and boom, just like that. They're yours. Because I love you guys. Super easy to kind of download these and import them. You would just go to this little top 3 lines right here, which you can't see, but now you can. You're going to go import shapes. I screwed up. Import shapes. And you're going to bring these in, boom, 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 hit return, and there they will be. And you can very simply just drag these into compositions. So we're going to make a new canvas. We're going to go in inches because I like inches, and it's just some random big rectangular size, 16 by 5.5. You can do any size you want. You want to make it tall, you want to make it fat. Just have fun with it. So we got a big white background. You could change that in the setup menu, but for here, we're just going to do Command L on that and just drop the output levels down and get something gray. Now, just grab one of these. Go ahead, grab any one you want. I'm going to grab this one because I like it. And we're just going to pop this sucker. Make sure that, it's black and it will come out whatever color you have in the color picker. And we have black, and we're just going to drag this in here. We're going to give it a little scoochy boochy. Just have a little fun. I mean, for the sake of time, I really should have just plopped this in, but you'll notice the video is a little sped up here. That's because the original tutorial for this was over 2 hours, and yeah. So I just sped this sucker up, deleted the original audio, got it down to about an hour, which doesn't really make sense mathematically, but we went to art school. So we're just gonna play with this kind of shape a little bit. I like to kind of bring other ones of these shapes on top of these shapes and make kind of like new shapes. That's the whole thing. These aren't really meant to be, I mean, they can be, but they're not meant to be just used, as is. What these are great for is building, using as a foundation to create something, right? So what you want to do if you want to actually start to edit these, you need to right click on this and rasterize them, which basically means converting them from vector to pixels. As far as I know, there's no key command for that. If anybody knows a key command or a way, or if I can assign that, get down in the comments below, let me know, because that would be fantastic. So we just kind of merge these down. We have one shape, and maybe we're going to play with it a little more. Grab this little doodler in here. We're going to flip him horizontal. A little diagonal flow coming off this sucker. And this is actually gets like super fun, right? Just pulling these in and making new stuff out of stuff. And if you have you ever hear the expressions like good input, good output? If you have good little bits you're working with, it's much easier to make something that you don't like hate that much. I've spent hours trying to do stuff like this where I just keep fiddling and fiddling, and doing this just has been just incredible time saver. I've got another set of these that I'm working on too. Just kind of spice it up. And those I'll also be giving away for free when they're ready. All right. Now we've got like a guy. We got a sci-fi structure right now. You shouldn't probably be done this fast, right? Because I'm just got my video sped up, but you could just drag one in and just leave it there. Because the next thing we're going to do, composition-wise, we just need a little foreground. We want to move in big brush strokes, right? So I'm just going to use the lasso tool by hitting L. Make sure it's this one, not there's many lasso tools to choose. And we're just going to kind of make it on its own layer. We're just going to fill that in black for right now. And you can play with it a little bit. I mean, yeah, maybe this needs to kind of come over here. And we just kind of fill that bottom in using the lasso tool, fill it in black. And I'm filling it in my black by hitting Option Delete, right, which is a foreground fill, or Command Delete, which will fill with the background color. All right, sci-fi structure on the left. Sorry, on the right. And let's kind of bring him, or push him in the back a little bit. Easiest way to do that, Command L, output levels, drag black down a little bit, it'll give you some gray. We're not worried too much that this is the right space, we're just creating a little bit of separation as we build our composition. Give this a little scooch. Don't want to overthink things too much, but I do have a tendency to kind of go down the rabbit hole on these things and just dork out on one part. Now, this image that you see right here, this was the original image that I used creating these custom shapes, and you can see they're very different than the stock ones. And this just kind of happened organically. It was super fun, just as an experiment. But I really like the way this turned out. It actually was the genesis of me creating this after realizing that it was super easy to make that. So big difference here. I think I want to tell a little more of a story, right? The one we just saw, it's got one dude standing there and he's cool or whatever, but not the most dramatic, little stock, right? So let's try to tell a little bit more story. So I went into my stock folder and I grabbed this image. You can find anything, whatever story you want to tell, but this one seemed to work. It was pretty flatly lit, which is going to be easy to paint over. And I just brought it in here, a little horizontal flip on it because in my mind, the light is definitely going to be coming from right to left. Now, in your mind, maybe it's coming from left to right. That's awesome. Just like go for it, but pick a spot. Center, left, right, down. Just pick a spot, and we're going to establish that right now by making a new layer above the background layer. And just kind of with a light, big soft brush. Not too hard, not too much flow. Take the opacity down. And just kind of build up some lighter tones. I'm not using white. It's like a gray. It's on its own layer. You can absolutely bring this down, but this is just an indicator, right? It's just kind of, this is the world. The world we're in right now has got light from the right. Neat. Yeah, fine. Now back to our guys. And we just want to pull these two dudes out. We're just gonna magic wand, it ain't that serious for this type of thing. So we're just gonna magic wand the sky out, which was conveniently white. See, it isn't really gonna work on this grass and stuff. So we'll just use the magnetic lasso tool. Just hit L, and if it doesn't give you the right one, Shift L, cycle through them so you get the one with the little magnet. Hello, little magnet. And we just kind of click on there and drag it around. All right, just grab your guy. And if it acts a little wonky, you can always hit delete and go back a couple of little points right there, little selection points, and just we're going to grab this ground and adios muchachos. Yeah, I mean clean up any bits that you feel like you need to clean up. It's your world. And we just gonna kind of, it's like way too much color. We want to start off more black and white, so we do Command U, or Command Hue Saturation, which is Command U, A. And we're just going to drop saturation down. I do Command L. I'm going to flatten this guy out a little bit. There's other ways to do this too. If you're working in color, you can overlay a layer on top of it that has that color, play with the adjustment modes, and get yourself into that world, whatever world your piece is in. But for now, we're going to look black and white world. I would just bring most of the color down. I left a tiny little bit in there. At any point you want to go in on your elements and kind of tweak them and play with them and then spend a bunch of time doing a bunch of rocks and then delete those rocks. I think you should do that. It's all good personal exercise. And self-discovery is always time well spent. We're going to go into these guys, trying to figure they're going to stand somewhere in this area. I accidentally or subconsciously created like a little path right there. Cool. I mean, I guess I kind of had it in my head, but kind of didn't. But you could always add something like that, right? The great thing, everything's on layers. We're working non-destructively. You can go and screw with anything. It's absolutely no problem at all. You want to go back and just maybe play with some elements that aren't necessarily working for your composition. You know, right here, this this very straight line right here. Yeah, I'd like to give it a little, I don't know, just zhuzh it up a little bit. So I'm just going to drag these pieces. You'll notice that they kind of come with this black stroke on them. The way that I get rid of that is I rasterize it, and then I hold down the command key and just click right there, and it'll select it, and then using option delete, I just fill it in with whatever that color is. The whole thing happens. I know it sounds like a pain in the ass, but the whole thing happens in less than 2 seconds. It's like boop, boop, boop. And as if there was a key command, or, I'm still learning here. So if there's a way to get rid of that stroke on the next set, I will get rid of that stroke. But just pulling these pieces in and kind of zhuzhing some elements to, you know, to make them interesting and make them, appeal to your eye, just have fun with it. You could do all kinds of crazy stuff. You could have it. I did another one the other day where these things, after screwing with it, it actually became like bioorganic, uh, biomechanical. So, well, almost more organic. What did I say? Bioorganic. That's like a double samey. Don't want to do the double samey. So like, yeah, biomechanical type of organic type of thing it became, and that was fun too. So now go real quick while I was babbling, go into your stock folder, find yourself some clouds. These are the clouds I chose. There are many like it, but these clouds are the ones we chose. And we're just going to put that in behind there just to establish a really kind of quick kind of scene here. And now just even by doing this one step, it's like we just ding like 2 levels, ding ding. Now it's almost starting to become like a real place. Okay, awesome. So with these clouds though, I don't necessarily want it like this, because what I really want from these clouds is like a piece that I can duplicate around and manipulate. So with a big cloud brush or even a big soft brush, I'm just going to erase out a lot of this sky. I mean, that's basically just a gradient. We can make that. We're just going to erase out a lot of this sky, and even to some degree some of the brighter spots of these clouds. And this is not like standard. Like, you can absolutely keep these clouds like this. Just for what I'm trying to do, I don't want to use them so much. I feel better if I manipulate them. It just feels weird to use the clouds completely as it is. Like, we're taking shortcuts, but you want to feel good about it, right? We're just using pieces also. But also, that maybe that doesn't work for you, or maybe you like it lighter. You want to have more contrast. That's completely up to you. So now we're going to grab these other clouds, which are, a little different, but you see they're almost actually kind of the same in the composition of them. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to delete out this sky with the big kind of soft cloud brush, or just a regular soft brush will be perfect. And just kind of take out the bits that you want for right now. I mean, don't forget, this is Photoshop. There's 20 ways to skin a cat. You can do this with blending modes and stuff, but for me, I just want to have pieces that I can use. So I deleted out that. We're going to give it a little warp by hitting Command T, transform, right click on it, and get into that kind of the secondary menu. I'm going to do Command U for U saturation, you guys, and do the same thing. Command L, we're going to flatten it out and just find a way to make this guy perform a function, right? Because his job is to create separation between the foreground element and the structural element behind him, right? Get our little dynamic duo here to pop. So I mean, that's good enough for now, right? It's just basic elements in here. We're gonna add plenty more. So for right now, that's fine. And just cleaning up some of these little bits. I notice this back area here kind of goes off into nowhere. So with the lasso tool, I'm just going to draw something that could be like a way background shape and with a big texture brush, or you could even just fill this. I'm just gonna just paint this in, doing Command H to hide the selection but still have it active. Just painting this in. It doesn't matter if you don't have the right value because you can Command L, pull it down, and that just gives us like a distance point, right? Like just to kind of start building on that right side. Yeah, no problem. Easy peasy. All right, back into our stock folder. And I think we need some, yeah, we're gonna have to do something about this like black blob rock area. So the easiest thing to do, if you don't want to spend 10 hours drawing rocks, which you may or may not love or hate, and you can do a little bit of this after, of course, but for the easiest way to do this is to just grab some rocks, pull them out with the lasso tool, right? Because we're just going to be using these as an element. We are just going to copy and paste them around and try to find ways to make it not look too repetitive, right? That's the danger. But we just be mindful. There is the rubber stamp tool if you need it. You can always stamp out some stuff if it gets too samey. But we're just going to kind of get this to kind of be in our world here. You know, it looks like the lighting goes about the same way. Hooray! That's always nice. I just butcher and stretch this out to wherever you want. Don't even stress it too much. You know, great things about rocks, they come in all shapes and sizes. So we've got like a little bit of a ground type of area happening right here. And again, the same with every other element that we brought in here. We need to Command L, and drop the whites down, and we're going to raise the blacks up. That feels damn good to say. And we're just going to kind of flatten this out a little bit. All right, scooch some elements around. Maybe our guy lives over here. You know, if you don't have a 100% plan of exactly where you wanted everything to go, sometimes it's nice to just tap into the old rule of thirds. You know, I'm doing this very roughly here to give me a very basic idea. But yeah, you kind of see where things like just give you kind of a rough. You know, you should do the vertical one too, but it's okay. So this guy's kind of in the middle. And we gotta do a little bit of let's do a little bit of work on these guys because we want to do like a science fiction thing, right? It's not a period piece, and we don't want to use these guys as, you know, pure stock. That's not what we're doing here. We're doing concept art, not, you know, Photoshop compositing. So we're just kind of going to build him some little feetsies. And we're just going to do that with the lasso tool, little feetsies, and just grab a color using the color picker tool, just hitting the letter I, then going back to B. I've got this kind of textured brush, and I did Command H to hide the selection, and we're just kind of painting it in, grab some colors, just kind of painting in some very subtle value shifts here. Just using that color picker. Just, you know, if you don't have experience with this kind of like color picker paintbrush flow, if you're very new to Photoshop or to doing drawing in Photoshop, it's really super handy. You just gotta have one finger on I, one finger on B, and you just constantly selecting colors and painting, and it's really nice actually. It's got this kind of like Zen vibe to it. Just back and forth, select the color, paint it in, select the color, paint it in. And we just brighten these guys up just a little scoochy boochy. Yeah, maybe that value is better. And the rocks are still a little bright, but we'll to be addressed later. All right. little love to our two guys right here. So let's get them kind of in our world here. So the first thing, this guy needs a helmet, so we just use the circular last marquee tool. Marquee tool, not last marquee tool, and kind of give a rough, like, that's about a helmet shape. I'm just going to grab a color here as a base, make the brush a little stronger, and just kind of paint in very, very quickly some kind of suggestion of a helmet, right? Get rid of that selection with the circle, just, that just established the baseline shape of the helmet. Maybe there's some stuff here, and this is, we're finally like at fun time after just pulling in stock, and this is where you get to have a lot of fun. So we're just gonna try to do this pretty quickly. You can go as deep as you want, but this is where we get into that kind of color picker brush flow with a little bit of a harder brush, so that I don't have to, just keep going over a thing. We want to block out some shapes. So you can see I've got 100% opacity going, but I'm just color picking, and we're just gonna kind of see if we can do a little work on these guys, right? The goal here is kind of, we want to add elements and simultaneously kind of simplify this thing, right? We want to simplify some of these values and just make it read as simply and quickly as possible, right? And we don't want it to read as a photograph, right? Because the other elements are not photographic, it's just super weird. So we're just gonna give this dude some like max headroom 80s sunglasses, apparently. Some goggle vibes. Again, dude, just kind of have like fun with it. Keep the brush moving. You can always go back, and I guarantee you will go back and kind of change these things. We're just looking for the ideas, right? We're just looking for the shape of what this thing may or may not be, right? So this guy's helmet, a little face mask type of thing happening. Neat. Maybe our boy here, he was like a pilot, right? Maybe they crashed their spaceship, so he's got some kind of flight breathing, and just on another layer behind this, so we can very easily draw the shape in without worrying about hitting that. We just kind of put in the shape of some sort of backpack apparatus. Yeah, cool. Give a little indicators of some form, just, color picking a mid-tone and just not overthinking it. Can change all this stuff, but yeah, he's got some sort of flight pack, right? And this other guy, he probably got one too, even though who knows? Maybe this guy's just super badass and he doesn't need all that snowflake life support stuff. Losers. But yeah, already we can see that this guy, like World War One vibes, is already becoming, something a little more modern, right? So we're gonna change this. As much as I love this petticoat, it's fantastic. I think we need to change that. So we just grab a color here and it's got some sort of flak. Now we've gone from World War One to World War Two with the big flak jacket there, but it's okay. We're just kind of just adding in lines and shapes, and you want to see what works. Another big part of and I kind of did this already in my original piece that I did, which was the genesis of this that you saw earlier. I had a lot of reference up, so it's always good to pull a lot of reference and be always looking at that. Instead of trying to make everything up, it's really good for the color, your tones when we go in and try to start to add some color in here. But for right now, it doesn't matter. It's sci-fi, so we're just going to kind of embellish some of these elements. Maybe he's got some doohickeys. Maybe this, we got to simplify these guys' boots. These guys' boots looking rough. Just simplifying, using the color picker, just going in. Grabbing a tone. Maybe it's dark, maybe it's light. depending upon your light source, and just kind of not overthinking it too much. Just painting in some little bits. You know, maybe there's some indicators of little form in here. I mean, generally we're working big brush, and then we go down, add in some little details, and sometimes throw some little ones in. Just keep moving from area to area. You'll notice it's like I don't get stuck too long in one area. I just kind of keep moving around our guys here, our subject. Although this face mask is going to need a little bit of love. And I'm rotating the canvas by just hitting the R key. And that'll bring you into that rotate, getting back into the brush by just hitting B. You guys should all be trying to use key commands, of course. Key commands are your friends. Maybe these boots need a little, I don't know, a little beefing up. I don't know if this is enjoyable for you guys to watch, me painting. I know I really love watching this when I watch other tutorials from really good artists, not hacks like me. And they just do this. I could just watch that forever. I've actually watched some of their YouTube videos on slow motion. I just want to absorb everything. I enjoy it. So hopefully this isn't too tedious for you. But having said that, you know, we're just embellishing these elements. We want to simplify them. A little fun fact for you. This is, I don't know, the 6th attempt at creating this tutorial. I've had a lot of technical difficulties. The actual artwork creation was the easiest part because that's something I know. And while I do actually have quite a bit of experience editing video, is capturing the screen and doing voiceover in Premiere, which I had not used because I was a Final Cut dude. In Premiere has been a learning curve, and I'm just happy to hopefully this will be the good one that communicates these ideas effectively for you guys to use. And you're just playing with the elements. I generally don't recommend doing perspective distorts on your subjects, but you can get away with stuff, and who's to say? We might have got away with it. The legs got a little long in the little tooth there. It's like a supermodel. And maybe we're going to fix that a little bit. But my original tutorial, 2 hours, rambling nonsense. I went back and watched it and said, oh, there's no way. There's no way. You know. However, if you do think there is a way and you want to hear me literally ramble about like happy little rocks and the lasso tool is your best friend for 2 hours, let me know in the comments and I'll consider uploading that, but I don't think that helps anyone, right? So now we add a little shadow in here. Just very quickly, we just make a new layer underneath that, and with the lasso tool, just not overthinking it. You know, the light's coming from the right, we're going to make the shadow to the left. We're going to fill that shape in with just black or a dark tone. And we just take the opacity down on that a little bit. And we double click on there and get into the blending options here. And this is your buddy. This layered thing this is the best thing. And we can just kind of by option clicking and pulling these sliders, we can start to bring different tones through. And this is a very simple way to get your shadow to look like it actually kind of is there. Cool. All right. Playing with the tones, but that blending thing is like the best. Use that blending thing. You can use it for so many things. So now we're gonna get into this like structure in the back, right? Because we've got rocks, we've got clouds, we've got dudes, we just got a big shape in the back. So I've got this folder of industrial textures, and I'm just gonna grab one of these. You could just go on Google, find some stuff, and this will work with any kind of texture just yet. So we just can take this on here and just very rudimentarily just kind of just get it over this thing, right? No problem. Take the opacity down, kind of see what's going on, and by holding down Option and hovering, you see the little down arrow, and then click. That's going to turn this layer that this is on into what I call a hero layer, which only affects the one below it. In Procreate, it's called clipping mask. I forget what they're called here. I want to say it's not an adjustment layer. It's a hero layer. He's your buddy. So again, Command U for U saturation. And we just pull the color down. And let's kind of screw around with some of these blending modes. These are also your buddy. And we'll just go soft light. You know, you kind of keep this kind of subtle. We just want to give a little bit of information, you know, just a foundation here of what the actual structure of this thing might be kind of made out of. I don't know if you know this, but every time Bob Ross made a painting, he made 3 of them. He made a study before the show. He did another one on the show, which was, you know, he had to make it fit the time requirement. And then he did a third one after the show ended. And that was the one that went like to the archive, right? Where that was the, I don't want to say the good one, but one where he was not, obviously not time restricted. So, hey man, do 1, do 3, do it right, do it like Bob. Fun fact, me and Bob Ross actually share the same birthday. My guy. Anyway, point being, do studies, you know, do studies before you do finals. Now let's get some other, maybe find another texture to put in here. I do like that, but I don't think that's going to work. I mean, even though you probably could make anything work, like this probably shouldn't work, but I don't know. This one's kind of cool. Yeah, just drag the sucker in here, kind of Command T, or sorry, we're going to desaturate it first, Command U. U saturation. And do the same thing with the levels. Flatten it out. Yeah, something like that. No need to overthink it too much, and we'll just see. And we'll do the kind of hero layer. It's all affecting the structure. And we'll see if this is going to play nice. I mean, a lot of times you want to experiment, overlay with different textures. You know, or you could take the time and just draw this in too, paint this in. If you got it like that, you got some time, just have fun. You know, if that's the part you like, then that's the part that you should do. Just playing with these blending modes. You know, we got some hard line here. Just delete, erase some of that, blend this in a little bit. Not overthinking it too much. But just a little extra texture. Why not? Now let's fill that in. That doesn't really make sense. So if I do Option and I click there, it's going to just show me, it's going to solo that layer. I can just select the color, fill it in, and just hit Option and select that layer again, and all my other layers will turn back on. Easy peasy. Now we just duplicate this little doodler out. And just playing around. Now trying to fill this space in. You know, it's wild watching this in hindsight, because when I'm doing this, I'm not. It's funny, you know, when you're doing it, you don't see it the same. Because when I'm watching it now, I'm going, oh no, maybe you should have moved that the other way, or maybe, oh maybe you look good there. Why did you move it, Dan? You're blowing it, buddy. Oh, come on. I think that's actually probably would be very informative though. I think I've actually learned quite a bit from watching me do these things and being objective and, you know, Monday morning quarterback and the whole thing and be like, nah, dude, do it like this. It's informative. So now we kind of condensed a bunch of those down. We're still kind of having them on our hero layer. And we'll take this guy and just distort the crap out of him. Give him a big oopsie doopsie. Give him a big kind of, and we're just going to delete him. And we still have kind of a weird area in there. Yeah. And just playing around. Don't forget, it's your world. You know, The only rules are your rules. Let's find something else. What else we got? Oh, this guy. Let's see if we can make this guy work. Yeah, pull the color down. Right? You know the drill. Use saturation, Command L, flatten it out. Magic wand that stuff out. Could also do select color range and pull that out. It doesn't matter for this. You know, oddly, it almost... Huh. Yeah, it's not as bad as I thought. Okay, so now we got this piece here. We'll just kind of scooch it around and see what it does. Yeah, it actually creates a little interesting thing right there. Now let's duplicate that. And again, let's just kind of put it here, and that creates an interesting sort of indicator of some form, right? Cool. Yeah, just lassoing these bits, kind of changing them. Thinking very lightly about perspective. My nemesis. Oh, I'll get you, perspective. You wait. I'm watching you. Yeah, just playing around. Yeah, I'm gonna add a little bit to this shape here. So I'm just on that actual layer, and since we don't have any adjustment layers or anything, we just color pick. And just with a small hard brush, just kind of give this a little something. I noticed that that layer we put on there kind of gave it this kind of vertical type of thing right there, but the lighter tone. And let's just maybe kind of flow with that. Let some of these textures kind of really inform what your structure might be. And go in there with a small brush and just add little tiny little details, right? We want big shapes, and we want to accent those or juxtapose those with very fine and smaller types of shapes in moderation, of course. Put little nuggies in there and just bring it to life a little bit. To duplicate that piece just by hitting Option and dragging it, that piece that's above the structure, and just kind of fill in this area that was kind of pissing me off. Guy is a jerk, right? So you see the same thing here. We use the same texture from the previous piece. And let's just kind of, like kind of move around, right? So we spent a little time on the structure. Now let's go in here again, have a little fun with our guys. Think about this composition a little bit. Our eye is going to be coming down. Generally we go from left to right, so we want to bring it in to our dude and then maybe have it kind of travel. So play with these clouds a little bit and just give a little bit of value there. Brighten up that value a little bit. It's kind of let our eye travel from left to right. And at this point, we're actually, I mean, at this point, we're not that far off, right? We've got all of our elements in here. We've got enough atmosphere to kind of to get by. Maybe the subjects are a little bit light, but that's okay. For right now, this is a good place to be. So it's a good time also to just kind of get your composition where you want it. It's still very easy to move these elements around. They're not a lot kind of interdependent on each other. You don't have a lot of weird masks and stuff going on yet. Painting and adjustment layers. Yeah, so let's duplicate this background kind of cloud layer and let's put it all the way in the front. Now we're just going to kind of build up a little more atmosphere to try to create some depth. Not depth. And bring the opacity on that down, see if it works. Yeah, I mean, it's fine for now. It doesn't really do that much. But that's okay. You can build these up over time and just kind of let this kind of thing evolve almost organically at this point. We don't have a brief on this. If we had a brief, that said, this is the influence, this is the thing, this is where we would really be making sure that those elements are addressed and that we're kind of in the right world, or it's period, or whatever that might be. But since we don't have that, we're a little more just kind of just shooting in every direction. Yeehaw! Let's just throw a bunch of crap in here. Yeah! But that's okay. I enjoy that. I would just move this dude around a little bit. See, I just literally just merged the whole thing into one. That's just how little I care. If I thought maybe I would want to go back and manipulate those, I would have grouped them, duplicated that group, and then flattened that one. I think you'll notice that there was a slight tonal shift here. We kind of took a little bit of a jump, had some hardware issues, but that's all just with curves, adjustment layers. You can see what's different here. So we've got curves, we've got these hue saturation layers, but really mostly what's doing this is these two curves layers. We're just brightening up the background. Now we're just going to add a gun in here for these guys. I've flipped the canvas over to something that I do a lot, which I think is general good practice. I have that macro to Option Command F on my keyboard, but you can do that in Photoshop. In Edit, go to Edit, and then Keyboard Commands, and you can set it to whatever you want. But I've got it Shift Option Command F, but we're just going to add this gun here, just the Lasso tool. We're working from big shapes, putting in just big block of color, fill that in, using this brush, and we've got some sort of, because yeah, like if they crashed in a hostile place, like you gotta have a gun. This guy's carrying the gun, I'm carrying you, you're carrying the gun. So we just kind of got blocked this shape out here. And I think I originally wanted this to be a little bit more of a space gun like the original piece, but I think I was okay with this kind of shotgun vibe here. I didn't spend like a ton of time on this, but this is kind of like a fun. And just using the lasso tool, sometimes you want to use the Polygon lasso tool. It just gives you these nice straight lines. Again, cycle through those by holding down Shift L. And we're just giving this a very kind of rudimentary and basic form right now. We can always change this, but we're on our own layer too, so we don't have to stress it too much. But just kind of adding in little indicators here. All right, so if that's where the light goes, you can make nice straight lines by doing shift clicking. It's like tap the thing down, sort of do a dot, hold down shift, and go where you want. It'll give you a nice straight line. And just painting in little bits here, having a little fun with the shotgun. Maybe we got a little straparinio. Why not? And they round that off a little bit. Since it's easier on our own layer, just lasso and delete ski. And I didn't really have a plan for this shotgun, so we're kind of figuring it out, but we all know pretty much know what a shotgun looks like, right? So it's, his hand is all wrong too, but for right now, yeah, just throwing a couple of indicators here of some form. Just keeping the brush moving. Feel free to Command Z away if something doesn't look good. Now let's give this guy's hand a little bit of a. That's not quite the right hand, right? And big brush, yeah. Don't want to get too bogged down. Boom, there's a hand. Little hint at some fingers. Just color picking, grab a tone, a little darker tone here. Some knuckles. And just keeping it moving around. Sure, maybe that's where the shells come out. I mean, at this point, you could even just leave this gun the way it is. It's as long as it communicates, right? This piece isn't about the gun. It's about, the story. So as long as you've communicated the idea of it, you're okay. But having said that, feel free to just go in. Got 5 hours to kill? Go in. Again, back to these guys. We're just moving around. We didn't give these guys too much love. Then we had a little triangle in on the sleeve there before. Yeah, something about this guy's face mask doesn't fill me with joy. Well, let's just play around with it a little bit, right? As we're getting kind of towards the end here. We just don't want to hate it. Alright, so get this guy, he's got some sort of gas mask apparatus. The light would probably come that way, sure. Oh no, wait, we're the other way. Light would come the other way. Yeah. And we got his little flak jacket vest that we drew on here in about 5 seconds. And we just kind of go in here, just start adding a little bit of more information, little indicators. Color picking, painting, using a textured brush. It's pretty much 100% and 100% at this point. But depending upon what you're trying to do, play with your brushes like paintbrush. Just play. Alright, so we're looking at kind of the thing as a whole. So that's pretty much was just a curve move. And I duplicated this entire piece and put it in the back. Just pushed it behind it, created a little separation with some clouds. But again, easier explained than having you watch 5 minutes of like, let's copy and paste this and put it in the back. And then this is all, you make a new layer, you put some clouds over it, create a little separation. I just painted those clouds in with a big soft brush. And I think at this point, starting to try to bring a little bit of life to this structure here. We're going to try to paint in a little bit of light here on a new layer. Just, I'm assuming it's evil, so we're going to do red. Maybe not always the 100% way to go, but it's a good place to start, right? We do have a shortcut for this also, but I guess at this point I wasn't 100% sure if I did want this thing to have lights. Having it be just there also, maybe adds to the story in a certain way that I like. Or maybe I don't. Maybe it's better if it's quote unquote alive with people inside of it doing stuff. It creates more of an imminent threat. But anyway, we're going to add this red in here because red is apparently evil. Hooray, evil. So you can't even really see it too much. Just get in a lighter tone. Command L, the levels kind of bump that up a little bit. Yeah, medium. Don't forget, like, there's nothing wrong with getting rid of stuff. Even if you spend a long time on it, you could just adios, work and apply that to everything in your life. Ain't working, see ya. Yeah, I got a little goofed out working on these for a little while, but I'm playing with the blending modes there, and I think I just really wanted this to work. Like in hindsight, I feel like I can be honest. I was like, holy, well, I'm recording this. I can't, back off. I got to make these things work and make it look like I know what I'm doing. But, who the hell knows what they're doing? Those guys know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just trying to give it a little bit of a glow right there with big soft brush. And I said, you know what? I do like that there's something happening there, though. I'm just not 100% sure. Right, so maybe let's do one of these. Let's just do a quick Google search. And let's go find ourselves a shortcut on the internet. So we're gonna do buildings at night. Just anything where we can grab these little clusters of lights, just as a piece to kind of duplicate around. Now let's try Singapore because they got some buildings. Okay, look at all this stuff. I'm gonna have to start a new stock folder. All right, let's bring this sucker in here. And obviously that looks ridiculous, but really we just wanted the pieces. So I bring it in here, I take the opacity down, I do it levels on it, I push the blacks down, and that way I can put it to the blending mode is screen, and what screen does is it just makes all the blacks disappear. Or the inverse of multiply, which multiply will suck the whites out. So we're just going to kind of, with the lasso tool, we're going to grab this little piece, set it also to screen, turn the one behind it off, and just move this around. I'm like, okay, let's do what we did with the texture. Let's see if we can't save ourselves like 10 hours here. Yeah, I mean, that's not, it doesn't piss me off. Cool. All right, let's do a little more. All right, we can either grab a new piece out of that chunk, or we can, don't forget to name your layers, which I haven't been doing, and I'm sorry. But or just duplicate that by, you can hit Shift J, sorry, Command J in the layers, or just Option drag that thing, and let's put them on the other side. Save some time, save a life, do yourself a flavor, man. Like, just, if there's a shortcut that's gonna work, just do it. All the tutorials that I watch of the guys that we idolize, you know, except for like the purists, that's a weird thing, not purists, but just the guys who maybe it's all about the rendering of the line for them. But a lot of the concept artists that we look up to, I've downloaded quite a bit of their tutorials and watched their process, and they all say the same thing. There's like, it's not about that. It's about communicating a story effectively, and taking shortcuts and using bits is fine. It's just a question of if you're able to achieve what you want with it. And I'd rather have more time to paint in my character than, drawing lights. You know, Granted, you can always duplicate, right? Like make a cluster of lights, then take that cluster and make a medium-sized cluster and duplicate that and move that around. And that's actually another thing that is a huge time saver also. Don't ever draw one light at a time. But yeah, grab bits, like make bits, make clusters, duplicate, duplicate. So I'm just gonna grab another nugget out of here, push the blacks down so the screen layer mode is super effective. And see if we can't get this guy to fit kind of on this thing in a way that makes some kind of sense. Yeah, maybe something on the front of this guy. And by just Command T for the transform and going into distort, just kind of putting this guy, yeah, something like that, right? I think it's actually not quite right up there. Probably needs to move down, start the perspective. If you're a real G, you can just, I mean, from the beginning, if I knew that there was going to be a little more geometric or just stuff related to the perspective, I might have built a perspective grid, but we just have so few of those elements that I think it's okay. I'm just erasing out some little nuggets. Oh, it looks like actually I lost that piece in the front. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's better without the red ones that I painted in. Maybe not. Now we just duplicated that layer of the lights. I'm going to put a little Gaussian blur on it and just get them to kind of have a little more of a actual light effect, right? It's going to affect the air because there's so much atmosphere around it. Give them a little bit of a glow. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Oh, here we are. We really want to make these red lights work. Oh, I gotta give it up. I mean, get rid of them, Dan. But you know what? I think I'm right here. I didn't actually finish them. Any light source is gonna have like a hotspot. So all we had there looked like just like the thing was bleeding. So by adding in these kind of, it's almost white kind of highlights here, this gives a little, this indicates that this isn't actually lights here, not just a bunch of red schmuggy. Maybe it's too much, maybe it's not. I mean, we're getting to be about that point where you can really screw around with your blending modes, with adjustment layers, and I'll probably do an extensive video on adjustment layers and finishing, using color range and all of that stuff. But I didn't want to get too bogged down in this. This is one of the pieces I edited out. There's going to be a jump in a minute or two, but probably could have left the thing right here and been okay with it. But like we all do, probably gonna screw around with it quite a bit more. Play with some of these elements. And also, it looks like I have a minute now. I had a lot of trouble in the beginning making these with the breathing on the microphone. And I actually spent probably about 4 hours editing the original voiceover and taking out all of the breathing. And apparently I do like this thing a lot that was really annoying. And I went in and physically, just manually, just edited those down on the audio file in Premiere, and it was really difficult and a pain in the ass. But having said that, I try not to do that, but if there is a lot of breathing or I am so sorry. Thank you for overlooking that. It's something I will definitely work on in the forward just to make this a more enjoyable experience so you can get the information you need without being like, this dude's annoying with the, yep. So, not that far off from like a finished place here, right? It really, it comes down to like what time of day do you maybe think that this is, do you want to go for like a nighttime thing? And this is where it's really great to have some good color reference, mood reference out, just to give you a roadmap. Because if you really like that reference, you're probably going to really like, your piece. And just using adjustment layers here, painting in the layer masks on them and stuff, you can really, do a lot on kind of one simple layer. And after a ton of that, though, right, this is kind of where I finally left it off. I'm not sure if this is the most successful version of that or what, but it's a place that I felt good about leaving it. So I'd like to thank you guys all for watching this. If you think I could do better, you got any comments or suggestions, if anybody knows the key command for Rasterize, put it down in the comments below. I'd like to thank you all for coming, and you guys have a great day.